The next panel discussion would be about designing smart homes, collaborative approaches for architects, brands, and integrators. May I please invite the moderator for the session that we have, Mr. Harshul Parikh, CEO and Director of Trescent Lifestyles. Joining us would be the panelists that we have, architect Tushar Mistry, principal architect Tushar Mistry Design Studio, Ms. Rohini Bagla, principal designer, Studio Rohini Bagla, Ms. Muskan, Salgia, Vice President, CasaDigi, and Mr. Manmohan Ganesh, Managing Director, Pro FX. Could we please welcome our panelists with a big round of applause? Moderators and panelists, we have about 20 minutes in time. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, everybody, for joining on this interesting session. We'll get started on a few interesting topics that I'd like to get all of your opinions on. So let's start with, what are some of the key challenges that we face when we're integrating smart home technology into architectural designs. Maybe, Tushar, we can start with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, the curation is very important. The design brief that we get from the client, requirements with what right product, the aesthetics, which particular integrator would be able to get us the aesthetic value of it along with the operational value to it. So curation is the most important factor that we have to consider when we go in for the selection of an integrator. And the design brief that comes in bits and parts, and we have to just join them A to B, B to C, because people want everything, they want nothing, they want in between a lot of things. So I think that is, the curation is the most important part, I feel.
Okay, thank you. Rohini, would you like to add something there?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I think the biggest challenge, the basic challenge that we face here is that usually smart home automation is considered as an afterthought. It's not something that that always happens right at the start, and it's very important for us to discuss and talk about smart home automation in the early stages of our design. If we do that, we know where we are, we can provide the wiring, the necessary infrastructure, we can allocate the right space for the devices. Absolutely. So that we can seamlessly blend our devices with our design aesthetics.
Absolutely. Thank you. Muskan, sure, please go ahead.
Everyone, good afternoon. I think from a brand perspective or a product perspective, I think one of the key challenges that we would face in some of the projects that we've been in is that we often get the brief in terms of a floor plan. This is the house, design the automation. But I think it goes much deeper than that. The challenge is in understanding, okay, how is this space going to be used? I see a room, I see a yoga room, but who's doing yoga there? Is there a grandmother? Is there a father? Are there kids? What is the actual use of the space? If we were to design automation for just floor plans, it's never truly going to be personalized or customized to the customer that we're dealing with. And I think the brief that translates floor plans into perhaps, okay, this is the family, this is what we've thought of the space, this is how they wish to use the space, this is how they host, this is how they party, this is how they exercise, would help integrators and brands suggest the right solution and the right product.
Sure. I totally understand what you're saying. Manmohan, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I think the biggest challenge that I see from maybe an integrator's perspective is an issue of really understanding what they're getting. The fact that we call it smart home, but in today's context of AI and stuff like that, it's far from smart. It's an automated home. But when we say smart, people think things will happen intuitively. I'll walk into the room and this will happen and that will happen. Yes, maybe the lights will turn on, but nothing much happens beyond that. And the same thing happens every time the maid walks in too. So we need to first get the understanding right. And the second challenge is also educating the customer that not everything is going to work the exactly same way. there are a lot of brands here, and I don't want to actually put anybody down, but they don't necessarily give the same experience as some of the premium products in the market. But comparing people come and say, I've already got a quotation for 15 lakhs, so how much is your solution going to cost?
Right.
That's like going to a restaurant and saying, I already know the ingredients, so if the ingredients cost 25 rupees, and I hope I get my vada pav for 35 rupees.
Right.
So that's basically the issue. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think all of you all brought a common theme about really talking to the client, making them understand what smart homes are all about, talking about it at an early stage versus an afterthought, so it can be planned. You have enough time to debate, think through the features, and then get the right solution on board. So thank you all for contributing to that question.
I would like to add on that even if we started from the earlier stage, the demands keeps adding on.
Yes.
So integration is not something, so service provider always have this leeway or an extra space allocated where the upgradation can be implemented at one point of time. Because we have to understand the person who is going to be end user is not a technical person.
Yeah.
They have demands, they have aspirations, they have necessities. These three things keeps on fluctuating time to time as the project progresses further.
Right.
So I think even you would agree to that as integrators, the demands keeps on fluctuating and gets upgraded over the period of time. They see something in the market and then come back. I think Instagram spoils it all and makes it all both the ways.
No, very true. So Tushar, that leads me to the next part of the panel discussion, which is, what role do architects play? And the role that the architects play in ensuring that the smart home technology is seamlessly integrated into the overall design.
We designers are believed to be magicians, first of all. We have to know everything. We can do everything on this planet, whether it is giving recipes on the microphone, on the microwave, how to make it, all of that comes under our dome. So basically, we are captain of the ship, the bigger responsibility, and making them aware that what all is required, what is your necessity, what is extravaganza is a separate part. As I think Adam explained it very well, that a security system is to be implanted. How secure that particular platform is, and why exactly you need this, and why you should avoid this. Many of the things don't work, and again, the premiumness of the product is required for certain integrations. If we have budgets for this much, we have to educate them that this is what is your necessity and requirement. That is what the approach should be from the designer's point of view.
Absolutely. Rohini, would you like to add?
I think he's pretty much summed it
up.
all. But yes, I think the users are not aware technically of any particular product. They just, as he said, someone would come and say that, I've got this quote for 15 lakh, but what are the specifications of the product? What are the kind of products that are being used? So you cannot compare until you understand the product. So we have to educate our client on how it helps in even energy efficiency and a lot of other things. So until we don't educate our clients and sit and understand what are their basic needs, what are their priorities. We have to study a client before we propose something to them. We were just having a word before
Absolutely.
this that we have to understand and read a client and know that okay, this is exactly what they want. At times they themselves don't know what they want from them. So we have to sit, analyze, we have to study them and then propose a solution.
And building a house is a journey, right? So you start off with some expectation, and then you keep getting exposed to new things, and then you want to incorporate. And architects are the gatekeepers that are supposed to maintain it all, manage it all, somehow make it all fit into budget X, or convince the client to maybe stretch themselves a little bit so that they will be happier long term. So thank you for those insights. I'd love to hear Muskan and Manmohan's thoughts as brands and integrators.
Yeah, I think, architects' initial role perhaps decades ago was to design the house and the material and everything. But I think what it's truly become today, or what we would like to see it become, is for them to truly evolve into lifestyle designers, is for them to say that this is how you should be living your life. This is the coffee table book that's good for you because these are your interests. And this is the kind of lamp that looks great and the kind of aesthetic you want to live in. If you're a fan of coffee, here's a coffee machine we recommend. If you're a fan of Formula One, here's the racing simulator we recommend. And it really goes beyond material, finish, paint, and all of that. But how do you design their lifestyle beyond that? How are they finally going to live and breathe in that space? And that's the kind of role that we would assume that architects would take, because they are closest to the customers. As brands, we're 3 degrees separated. There's the architect, then the integrator, then the brand. And when you then collate all of those inputs, architects would also perhaps, hopefully, be able to pass on those trends to us as products, saying that, listen, we're getting a lot of people who want espresso machines that are automated, and these are the trends that we're seeing. So they almost become educators and giving that feedback back to product companies like ours, such that the technology is always evolving with the lifestyle needs.
Sure.
So I would like to basically use this opportunity to request the architects to do 2 things for us. One is bring us in right in the beginning. The biggest challenge we find is they say, okay, we'll finalize everything. I mean, designs have happened. There's an electrical contractor, and the electrical contractor has already started his wiring. And then later there's this thing of, okay, we're going to dim these lights and we're going to have, whatever. I mean, this is going to be DALI. Now it's not going to be DALI. Those are big challenges for an integrator coming into a project later on. How do you then try to adapt? And there's an expectation, and you have to live up to that expectation. The second thing is also actually basically familiarize the client with the fact that your integrator is somebody who is going to live with you in that house forever. I think that people forget. So you go to whoever is, I mean, somebody across the road, somebody comes and pitches for a project, gets the project. They may not have the bandwidth to actually survive much longer beyond that. But I'm not saying that a project requires constant support, but it could be 5 years later, 10 years later. I mean, even as simple as, oh, we have changed all the TVs, but my automation doesn't talk to the new TVs because it doesn't know that brand of TV. So the fact that you need that continuity, somebody who's coming in is not just the hardware or the product that you're selling. There's so much more that you require, literally years. I mean, it's not, in most cases, it's never for a fee. It's just that support which you want somebody to be available and somebody has to do it. The need for proper documentation, all those kind of things. I think if the architect tells the client that this is what it entails, right? It's like your internet service provider. That person is with you forever. You can't get rid of them. This is the same situation. Yeah.
Very well said, Manmohan. Maybe I'll start back with you and Muskan on this question and come from that side. So, leading on to the next section, which is how do you guys think brands and integrators can work together to provide all of the architects with the latest smart home technology and solutions? How do you guys contribute in parting that knowledge towards the architect, so that when the architect is meeting the client, they're up to speed to what the latest offerings are there in the market? Yes.
Okay, so let me start. So obviously, there is a need for brands, integrators to work closely with architects. And I mean, I don't want to use the word educate. I think the architects are today very well exposed with most of the things. But just basically tell them that what could be challenges for projects. There are people who are earlier speakers were talking about, oh, nowadays you don't really have to worry about wiring. Everything is wireless. What do you trust that is wireless? That's the first thing. Secondly, wireless doesn't necessarily go through really thick walls. It may work in America where you have dry walls. It may not work in India. So those are the kind of things I think that's more important about, telling them that these could be challenges. It's very difficult to actually put a set of 10 guidelines saying that as long as you follow this, then everything is going to be fine. But with new tech and new things coming, constant exposure, I think would certainly be useful. And I think there's also a need to share information as in how the tech is evolving, I started by saying that, we shouldn't call it smart home, but I would like to just add one thing. But it is definitely a smart home owner who buys these products, because the future, the day your phone is smart enough to tell your automation that, hey, he's come back from a hard day at work, okay, keep the temperature 2 degrees cooler than usual. It's that kind of stuff which is going to happen. And I think that exposing people of where the trends are moving and what is not working, and similarly where the trends have ended. There may be a tech which everybody has been familiar with, but it's over. It's not the future anymore. I think that's also important to share with everyone. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that he said. And I think as a brand, some of the things that we could do is we're exposed to projects across geographies, across client profiles. We could perhaps be best suited to offer case studies. We understand that architects are bombarded with information about products. You have products coming your way every single day, and there's no way you're going to remember anything about all of those products. You cannot memorize those specifications. It does not work like that. But if we were to provide you with contextualized information that, okay, this is a house that we did, this was a unique problem statement, and that was the solution in a more perhaps case study format, that's one example of what kind of information can be sent across to architects. But I completely agree that this is not a one-time exercise that we go and say, this is lighting automation system, this is HVAC control, this is curtain control, now roll with it. There has to be a continued discourse around it, because technology is changing at such a fast pace that it's impossible to keep up if you're not having these conversations on the daily.
That's very well said, and I think it would be fantastic if architects probably provided maybe a quarterly or a semi-annually time slot for them to get updated with the latest trends. But I'd love to hear from Rohini and Tushar on how they think brands and integrators can help them in being up to speed.
So absolutely agree to whatever you all said. I think we are in the middle of the client and the brands and integrators. It is very important for us to understand the client and to explain them to the brands that this is exactly what they want. Now, for us to keep updated about what's happening every day, because technologies are changing. So I think if you all keep us updated regularly in the forms of maybe case studies, maybe small webinars or seminars or anything, that we are constantly updated as to what are the technologies that are new, that are latest, and that we can also educate our clients. At times the client wants to hear it from us, that, okay, this is what is new in the market, you should definitely explore this. So it is very important for us to be updated about the trends.
Sure.
I would take a different route. Rather than going for webinars or newsletters or maybe conferences, make small, smart, funny videos. Just send it across. That will catch more of attention, more interesting, and small information in a small video, which will keep enticing also. Okay, what's next? What's upgradation? We divide it into two parts. What's existing? What's the innovation coming forward? As you mentioned, after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the line, the technology is not going to be applied to the same gadgets that are existing today. Every 6 months, innovations comes in. So if you can share your 5 years plan of the R&D that you are doing, as an integrator. So when we propose something, I'm making this bottle, I'm proposing to my client, after 5 years, this is the upgrade that you will get. So that integration is very important, where the end user knows what is going to get as an upgrade or maybe a probable upgradation. So we divide that into two parts, and we do not only for the automation. In our studio, basically, we have this 6 monthly, which every brands to give us a complete knowledge a day, where they share the whole product range, applications, negatives, positives, and the entire team goes to their place. They experience the whole day, and it's a very fun part. So every 6 months or quarterly, that education, obviously we need to get educated. We don't get offended by word education. We keep educating people. We want education also along with it. But that 5-year or 6-year innovation plan, if it is shared in advance, we would also try to integrate that in advance.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I'll end the session with maybe a more fully loaded question that we've covered, but maybe we can use this as a summary to our panel discussion. So, Tushar, how do you feel that we can better as a fraternity between brands, integrators, and architects collaborate together to be able to provide the right functionality and also balance the budget constraints which are there when it comes to a client's preferences?
Go to my first thing, the curation. Curation is most important, where you list out what you want, which system integrator is better for this project. That's more important. And obviously, every part of interiors, whether it is a carpenter, a mason, a begari, and an integrator, they are all team members. So collaboration, as it is, it happens on that platform. You can't say the collaboration is not there. Collaboration is always there. Only the right integrator for that project. There are so many integrators out here, but which exactly is applicable to that particular, and not budget, but the requirement requires. Budgets can be fluctuated. They obviously get fluctuated. Right. So I think it should not be budget driven. It should be necessity driven. And collaboration can be happened only if you have a right product in a right place.
Very well summarized. Rohini, any inputs here, please? We can wait for...
So yes, I think everything works through collab. Our field is such that if we do not collab with each other, we will not be able to give the best product to the end user. So definitely we as architects, we have to have a shared collab with brands and integrators, and we have to share exact information, what we know about the user behavior, their preferences, their priorities, and sit with them and chalk out a tailor-made plan for that particular client. Now every client needs are very different, so depending on their budgets, we may have a phased implementation of stuff. We can have the important features put in first and maybe give a flexible probably infrastructure that we can have the lesser priority items filled in later at a later date, or keep upgrading, have a flexible system around this. So for all of this, I think collab is very important so that all of us are on the same page. It has to be a user-centric approach.
Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree that everything has to revolve around the user. We have to stop selling products, stop selling integration services, but really work for the user. And I just want to address the budget and the functionality and aesthetics. As CasaDigi, who operate in the luxury segment, we often hear that back. But we've always believed that you have to think about the products or the smart home automation that you're buying in terms of its perceived value. It's not an absolute value that, okay, this costs this much and this costs 2x and thereby it is more expensive. All customers, like you said, don't have the same needs and so don't have the same desires. So there's no cookie cutter solution that's going to work for everybody. Somebody's going to value a rug more, or somebody's going to value a high-end speaker more, but may not necessarily care about very high-end rugs. So the way the homes are designed and the way technology is specified and designed must be based on how they perceive the value of certain products. Not everybody needs a home theater, and not everybody needs in-ceiling speakers. And if we are able to balance that against their needs, I'm sure customers would appreciate us specifying products that match their needs and their lifestyles. And this whole conversation around budget and constraints would move more towards, okay, this is the value I'm getting out from my home.
Yeah, so I just, I again agree with everyone. I just like to add just two little comments. One is, good automation is going to cost a certain amount of money, right? There's no really way around it, because people should also realize, the end user must realize is your automation is as integral to the house as your plumbing is. You can't just yank it out and change something else. So you have to go in for something that's good. And if a client doesn't have, instead of actually downsizing and looking for cheaper alternatives, it's better to not have automation, right? So it is one of the two. I think if clients get that they realize the importance. You know, today people spend lots of money on a kitchen, but they want to spend only 10% of that on the automation. It doesn't work like that. So I'd like to end with that. Thank you. Yeah.
Exactly what is not been seen, not been touched, all senses, that is, the budget for that is very limited for everything on this earth. That's the irony of the story. But the rightly said is the need, what is necessity. So we do that, at least we follow that practice, that we give them whole picture, try shedding it down, minimizing it, that what is exactly you need. And if it is well put forward to the clients, they also understand, okay, this is not required, let's not go for it. Sometimes we just go for remote controls for the curtains of the house. Even the budget of the house is very high, because you have to even understand what is the footfall, how many guests are coming, what is the private zone where you are only going to use it. Because somebody who, even one switch needs to be educated, like there are 10 switches, which switches for what? So that education cannot be given to the guest who has come for 1 or 2 days. So public areas and guest areas, we always try to say not to put automation in the guest areas, which is going to be operable by guests. Rest everything can be done on iPad and everything, which is very personal zone.
You know, I've over 20 years designed a lot of smart homes, ranging from maybe 1,000 square feet all the way to 150,000 square feet. And what the most successful projects have been ones where the client has got the benefit of the knowledge from the brand, the experience from the integrator, and the trust from the architect as the gatekeeper to collaborate together to give them the right advice. And that's how I'd like to sum up this panel discussion with all of y'all, that I think collaboration is the key. And having the right knowledge and the people with the right intent is the most important to get this done properly. So thank you everybody for your time. Thank you for being part of the panel discussion, and enjoy the show ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harshul, for raising some really interesting questions, and thank you, panelists, for joining us as well. May I request you to kindly come together for a quick photo op. And I think there were some really interesting key takeaways back here. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us and the challenges that you guys face. And hopefully our customers back here can keep up with the latest trends when it comes to smart home automations. With that being said, we would like to felicitate you all with a token of our appreciation. May I request Mr. Sandeep Singh, Exhibition Director of Smart Home Expo, to kindly join me on stage to do the honors. To our wonderful moderator that we have for the session, Harshul, Parikh. Architect Tushar Mistry. Rohini Bagla. We have Miss Muskan, Salgia. And finally, Mr. Manmohan, Ganesh. Thank you so much once again, panelists and moderators. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you guys at the wonderful panel discussion here. Thank you.